Hey y'all, welcome back to Keepin' a Catholic. Today we're going to be talking about the desert experience. Desert. What does a desert have to do with God? Well, I'm about to tell you. All right, so the desert experience. So when you think of the desert, you're probably like, all right, what does this desert have to do with God? What does the desert have to do with Catholicism? What does the desert have to do with Jesus? Well, it has a lot to do with all three of those things, and primarily the most important one, which is God. And so when we think about the desert, we think about being isolated, we think about being alone, we think about being thirsty, we think about being hungry, we think about how the heck am I going to get out of here? How am I going to get out of this rut that I'm in? And when you think of the desert, you think of, just pure solitude and maybe kind of getting lost in your own thoughts and lost in your own feelings and just frustration and maybe even doing something out of desperation, right? So there is a perfect example of the desert, and that's when Jesus goes into the desert. He is in there for 40 days and 40 nights, and during this time, he is tempted by Satan. And so when Jesus goes into the desert, he's going into the desert because it's this time when he's preparing himself for his public ministry. So he's kind of like needing to get away. He needs to focus on what he has to do, the things that he needs to accomplish, and ultimately making sure that everything that is asked of him is to be done, because it leads to one specific moment, and that is his passion and his death and his resurrection. And so if you think about it, like if you were Jesus, you were probably like, man, I gotta go out to the desert. Like, I really just need to get away. I need to just focus my mind, focus my thoughts on what I have to do. And then here we go. Satan comes. Here we go. He comes and he's like, hey, I'm here. I know you're hungry and I know you're tired. And, if you're the Son of God, why don't you just get yourself out of this? Like, why don't you just leave? Why don't you just say, hey, Dad, I'm ready to go? Like, Satan's like, what? If you're really about this, like, why can't you just get yourself out of this, do what you gotta do, finish it up quick, and call it a day? And Jesus has three really, really great responses to the things that Satan is tempting him. Jesus is tempted 3 times by Satan. So the first is basically, if you're the Son of God, prove yourself that you are the Son of God. Prove yourself to be true. Prove that you are who you say you are. The second is, if you're the Son of God, throw yourself off of this temple and let's see what you got. Let's see what your angels got. Let's see what God got for you, if he's really got your back. And the third is, he offers Jesus every earthly kingdom. And he says, you know what? If you bow down and you worship me, I'm going to give you every kingdom on this earth. And Jesus, being Jesus, he's like, negative. I'm not going to do any of those things. I'm not going to bow down to you. I'm not going to throw myself off of a temple to prove myself to you. And I'm not going to sit here and do something to prove that I'm true and that God is true. And Jesus offers, his responses are like, they're so great, and they have such huge meaning. So the first is, he says, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes forth from the mouth of God. And he's basically saying for you to uphold the 10 commandments, uphold the Beatitudes. He's commanding you to be strong and courageous and not frightened or scared of anything. God's word is what upholds us and what lifts us up, especially in times of desperation, in times of when we may be tempted. And really just, it gives us an opportunity to really trust in what God says to us. You know what I mean? Like, we can't just sit here and be like, oh, I don't know, like, if you really have this for me, like, or if God, if you really love me, you wouldn't have let this happen to me. You really should be trusting. We should really be trusting in God's plan, in what he has in store for us. The third is, you should not put the Lord your God to the test. So we should not be questioning God's will. Like, why? I mean, like, why are we worrying so much? Like, I get why we're worrying, because we're human and we have those tendencies and those thoughts to just automatically think to the future. But we just need to allow God to take control and let him work in our lives. Let him, do the things in our lives that maybe we may think we don't want, but things that maybe he wants for us, so that we can better serve him, throughout our lives. And again, we shouldn't just be asking him to prove ourselves. Like, we shouldn't be saying, if you're real, you're going to do this for me. Or if you're really like out there, you're going to let me pass this test. Or if you're really out there, you're really going to help me get this job. Like, okay, like, I know you want this job, but what if God may be saying, well, what if this isn't what I want for you, and I really want you to do this because it's going to help you grow, it's going to help you excel, it's going to help open new doors for you. Do you know what I mean? So we just really need to trust on God's will, and we just can't be questioning it. And we also can't be disobeying his word as well. So if he's telling us to trust in him, like, legit trust in him. I promise you, it's not even that difficult. But again, I can vouch in saying that it is hard sometimes, because you just want something to turn out a certain way. And then when it doesn't, you're just like, why? Why didn't it just happen the way that I wanted to? But it happens, and you're going to get out of it. You're going to get out of that rut. You're going to get whatever it is that's meant for you. It's going to happen to you. And then the third response, which is pretty upfront, he's saying, get away, Satan. And he says, the Lord your God shall you worship, and him alone you shall serve. And basically everything you're doing should be done for God. So if you have this job, right, and you really want this job, you're like, all right, God, I really not want this job, but if this isn't what's going to help serve you and your people here on this earth, then maybe if it's not for me, then don't do it. Then put me somewhere else. And we shouldn't be doing things for personal glory, praise, to get more power. Everything, again, we should be doing for him, for his glory, for his praise, and, to ultimately bring his kingdom down here on this earth and be Christ-like to everybody that we come across. So like I was saying earlier, like, the desert experience really is just a time when we're suffering, when we feel empty, when we feel like we just don't know what our plans are. We don't know what is our purpose on this earth. And it's really a time where we feel all of these things, but at the end of it is when we receive our true calling, or when we receive that grace and we receive like that aha moment, if that makes any sense. And it's funny because we think like, Jesus, he has everything. I mean, he's the Son of God, and he could do anything, but even he had to be tempted. Even he needed a desert experience to kind of put him back on his feet, to remind him of what his purpose was, to remind him that, even though things may be confusing, you still have a greater purpose, and your greater purpose is, to give yourself up for me, for you, so that we could all be saved. And he needed the desert to give him a life of comfort and luxuries that he would never be able, to get anywhere else. So if he hadn't gone on this desert experience, or this journey of 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, he wouldn't have been able to receive his true calling, to really prepare himself mentally and spiritually and connect with God on that level. And he wouldn't have been able to receive that. And so to me, that's such a beautiful thing, because if we looked at our desert experiences as more as like a growing phase, more as like, okay, I know I feel this way right now, but I know I'm going to get out of it, and I know that this is what's going to come out of it, then, you know, it would be less hard on ourselves. It would be less stressful, and we wouldn't have to worry. I think we wouldn't be worrying so much, you know? And I know some people go through, you know, their own experience, their own desert experience, and some people may have multiple. Some people may just have one really long one. Some may have one that lasts a day. Like, you know, we all have those moments. And I personally have had those moments when I may have not accomplished something that I wanted to accomplish, and it turned out one way. And you get into this mentality of like, okay, well, what is my purpose? Like, what am I really supposed to be doing here? But I think what really helped me get through that period of my life was just getting closer to God. And maybe at that moment I didn't seem like I was getting closer to God, but by me taking the initiative to just step out and say, you know, God, I need you. God, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I don't know, you know, and just have that conversation with him. And he's going to open your eyes. He's going to slowly but surely, he will open your eyes, and, you know, he's going to show you and reveal the things to you that, you know, you're meant to be doing, and the things that are meant for you. And it may not seem like it right now, but I promise you, when it happens, it's the most beautiful thing. And you're going to be so appreciative and thankful for that desert experience, because even though you were so empty and confused and frustrated, it also helped you grow into the moment that you are in now, or the moment that you're going to be in. So there are several reasons maybe why we may need a desert experience. And the first is sometimes when we have these experiences, it's like to empty ourselves of like things maybe we think we want, but, you know, in turn, it doesn't really turn out that way. And maybe during this experience, it ends up changing our beliefs, our values, our dreams, our goals. And sometimes that's what we need to kind of just sit back and say, okay, like reevaluate everything. Like, do I really want to do this? You know, God, do I really, is this really what I wanted to do? You know, and kind of helps prevent you from making a mistake that, you know, that could have been prevented, you know, long term. And it really just helps us realize what matters to us most, like what's most important to us. And it's like, you know, right now, sometimes we think like all of these materialistic things are just so important, like having the new shoes and having like a new car and like having a house, apartment, graduating. Like, of course, all these things are important. You know, of course, you don't want to say stuck at home with your parents, like obviously, but that shouldn't be like the one thing that's just driving you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't just be the one thing that's motivating you. Do you know that there's other things that are also important, like your family, your friends, you know, okay, I do want to get this degree, but I want to get it because of this, not because of the money, or not because you think you're going to be making bank 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. Like, that shouldn't be the focus. Of course, that should be something to look at, but it shouldn't be the only thing driving your decisions and the things you want to do in your life. You know what I mean? And it's really also just to help us feel like are we satisfied? Like, are we satisfied with where we are now, or do we desire something deeper, something more meaningful, you know, with God or with the faith? And if we really think about it, you know, we could have all the money in the world. We could have the most bomb job. We could have, you know, everything in life that we wanted. And if we don't really have that purpose in our life, or we really don't have anybody to share it with, or we're not, you know, we're alone and we're with all this money and this wealth and this power, and you have nobody to share it with because you were just so driven and focused on you just had, what is it called? Like, there's a word, but I can't think of it. But basically, you have this one, you're just set on this one thing, and you tend to lose sight on everything else around you. And it's like, wake up, like look around you, like these things are happening, like this person is here, this person needs you, like you could have helped this person, but because you were so busy and you were so, dead set on that one thing, you missed everything else around you. And we don't want to miss that. And at the end of it, at the end of this desert experience, is when we receive our true calling. It's like it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, yes, like this makes so much sense. Like this is why I like this, or this is why I got this job. Like this was why this person came into my life. It's like you start realizing the actual purpose of why these things happen to you. And they're always to make you better. At the moment, they may not seem like that, but they are. They're going to make you better. They're going to make you stronger. They're going to make you, they're going to make your relationship with God 10 times more better, because at that moment, you relied on God and you trusted Him, and you were really able to just see and let Him work in your life. And, just be still. Just to be still and let Him do what He has to do. And that is, to me, it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard to just let go, and it's hard to just trust. But please, just try. Just for me, just a little bit. Just try it maybe for like a month or two. If you're going through something right now, just lay it all out. Say, God, this is what I have going on. What do I do? What do you want me to do? And don't block out something like His answers. He's going to answer you, but in different ways, in a multitude of ways. And so just be really alert and aware of everything around you. You don't want to miss out on that, hey, like it's here. You know what I mean? So how do we find God in the desert? Like, how do we find Him? So a perfect way, especially during Lent, is to really commit to give up what you gave for Lent. Don't give up. I know it's hard. That chocolate may be calling your name. That fast food might be calling your name. Social media, even though we really don't need it, whatever it is that you gave up, whatever it was that really you needed to just let go for a period of time, I promise you, when you have it back, it's an appreciative moment. You're gonna appreciate what you had. And if Jesus didn't give up His life for us, and He didn't follow through with His commitment to God, like where would we even be? So it's like, if we don't really like commit to what we gave up to Lent, like where could we be come Easter? We could be more grown, like we could be more aware of certain things that we do. It's a growing and learning experience. And so we really want to commit to what we gave up for Lent. And just let God take the lead, like I've been saying this whole night. Just let Him take the lead. Let Him do His work. Let Him do what He has to do, and just trust in Him. Just trust in Him, whatever it is. Release that control. Stop trying to manipulate things. Stop trying to put your hand in the mix. Like, just don't. Just let it be. Let it be. Let it be. It's like, let me stop. Okay. And really just embrace the quiet. I don't know why I just did that. Just embrace the quietness. Like, just embrace being alone. If that's, if you're alone right now, if you have quiet time, if you have downtime, just embrace that and use that as an opportunity to pray, to read scripture, to go to Mass, to go to Blessed Sacrament, and really just take that time to spend, those few minutes that you have with God. I mean, He deserves that, and that's your perfect opportunity to have that conversation with Him, and really just converse with Him. Let Him know how you're feeling, and it might open your eyes and your ears to certain things. And at the end of it, just really trust in it. Just trust in the process. Trust in that drought that you're in that desert, in that wilderness, wherever you may be in your life right now. whatever, however many times you may go through it, just trust in it. Let go, let God, and just, you know, let him do his thing. Stop trying to take control. He's got it all under control. And this experience is just going to make you grow, and it's just going to make you so much better. And like I've been saying this whole night, it may not seem like it right now, but it is. And really, really take advantage of spending that time with God and, you know, just being with him. And with that being said, that's the end of the episode. I hope you liked it. I hope you got something out of it. Please make sure you like, subscribe to my channel or to Talking Catholic's channel. Make sure you follow me. Please follow my Instagram, Facebook, comment, send me a DM, you know, if you want to talk, let me know. Like, I really want to hear from you guys, and I really hope that you're enjoying this, and I hope you're having a happy, healthy, and holy Lent. So until next time, I will see y'all. Bye.